Hey folks, Nathan here. Welcome to Nate's Favorite Deck Building Games, and this time we are taking a look at a new crossover pack for the DC deck building game, but we're also going to be taking a look at one promo card that I've mentioned in the past that I finally managed to get my hands on. Let's start with the crossover pack first, and this crossover pack is New Gods. It is crossover pack number 7 in that new kind of packaging where you kind of got to rip the top open to get to everything. But it's not going to matter because if you get a multiverse box, you're not going to be hanging on to this box anyway. Before we look at the actual New Gods mechanics, though, let's take a look at these contents because there's something weird here. This third bullet. One Roulette replacement card. Updated Birds of Prey card removed before playing New Gods. What is it talking about? Well, it's talking about this. Okay, this is Roulette. This is marked as crossover 6 Birds of Prey, even though it's in the crossover 7 box. It's a villain. Okay, with a cost of 2 power, 1 victory point, and the ability +1 power, rotate a card you control 90 degrees clockwise. You might be like, well, why is this in there? Well, it's because they made a mistake. When they were putting out the last crossover pack, which was Birds of Prey, people immediately started asking, well, wait a second, what is up with these two cards here? Roulette and Whip. One's an equipment, one's a villain, but you'll notice that Whip is cost of 4, victory points are the same at 1, +2 power, rotate a card you control 90 degrees clockwise. But then so is Roulette, right? +2 power, rotate a card you control 90 degrees clockwise, but a cost of 2. Why were you getting the exact same effect out of a 4-cost card and a 2-cost card? Surely that wasn't intentional. And it turns out that yes, they actually meant for Roulette to be +1 power, not +2. They actually thought that Roulette was +1 power when it finally went to the printers. The proofed copy had said +1 instead of +2. But it was an error. It somehow got through. It wasn't meant to have 2 cards that are effectively the same except different costs. Instead, Roulette was meant to be +1 power, so they expect you now to remove this when you're playing with Birds of Prey, and instead use the card that's now included here as a replacement in New Gods. A nice way of getting out a replacement card to people instead of just saying it's errata and expecting people to check a website to know what to do when playing with Roulette from Birds of Prey. Now, of course, since we are in the era of the multiverse box being out there, we have a randomizer card for New Gods. We have a divider for New Gods. Our main gameplay mechanic this time is going to shift from going after supervillains to going after homeworlds that play in a very similar fashion, as we will see. Unlike most sets that give us either superheroes or supervillains as our oversized cards to represent us, in this case, we've got 3 of each. We have for the superheroes Orion, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. For the supervillains, Darkseid, Granny Goodness, and Calabac. And then we have 26 new main deck cards, and we do still have the same instructions as some of the more recent crossover packs to basically take whatever main deck you're going to be playing with, split it in half, and then shuffle these into the top half, and then put it back on top so that you have more chances of actually accessing the cards from the crossover pack. I still think that is a very cool mechanic. The key thing here is that you're not going to be going after super villains per se. Instead of one super villain pack, you have something that's kind of similar to the way that a Rivals game would play, or Confrontations might play, in that you've got a target with 3 different levels to it. So if you are playing as one of the villains, you are trying to repeatedly conquer, or assault and conquer, you might say, the homeworld of the heroes. So we have our superhero Homeworld, level 1 for New Genesis. Then we have a level 2 version, a level 3 version, each of which has a stack ongoing ability, which means that something is happening affecting all players as long as it is the top card. And it does go in order, starting with 1, working its way down to 3. They also have a new thing here for retaliation. So these don't have a first appearance attack the way that a supervillain might. But let's say that our villains build up enough power to meet that 9 threshold and attack and defeat New Genesis at level 1. Well, instead of a first appearance attack for the next level of New Genesis, there's a retaliation, which is sort of a last appearance attack. After it gets defeated, the retaliation happens. In this case, each supervillain gains 2 weakness cards. And then, at the end of the turn, the next one comes into play. And you keep playing through until one side or the other takes out the level 3 version of the other side's homeworld. So we have New Genesis for the supervillains to take out. we have Apocalypse for the superheroes to take out. Again, stack abilities affect everybody while that card is at the top. Retaliation, though, only retaliates against the other faction, not necessarily just the player that took it out. So if Apocalypse at level 1 gets defeated, its retaliation will affect every player who's playing with a superhero. If New Genesis gets taken out, its retaliation hits everyone playing with a super villain. And ideally, you're playing with an even number of players with an even number of these, but bear in mind that you're not on teams. Your faction just makes you a hero or a villain. It doesn't mean you're playing a 2-on-2 game or a 3-on-3 kind of game or a 1-on-1 kind of game in the sense of factions. You're still trying to get the most victory points, but it's not quite as clear-cut as a team game might be. Now, the way that you win is not based on who takes out the third. The third getting taken out for the first time for one or the other of these just stops the game. And then you go through and you add up your victory points. When you take out a Homeworld, it doesn't go into your deck like a supervillain would. It gets set off to the side, but then when you count up your victory points, they're worth quite a lot. Level 1 is worth 6, level 2 is worth 7, level 3 is worth 8. Okay, so you do get benefit out of it when you're counting your victory, but it's not like it's going to give you something that's going to be a super powerful card to keep playing throughout the game the way that a super villain would in a normal game. We also have a new concept here, which is Protector. Like New Genesis Protector 1, or Apocalypse Protector 1, or Apocalypse Protector 3. Okay? Some of the cards that you will acquire have the Protector ability. And let's say that I am a superhero going after Apocalypse. And I've built up, we need 9 to take out level 1, I've built up, let's say, 10 power. I think I'm going to be able to take out Apocalypse. But no. Well, let's say that one of the other players who happens to be a super villain, at that moment, then uses their Protector, Apocalypse Protector 3 with Kanto here. What that 3 means is that it takes the power that's being used in that attack and reduces it by that much when attacking that target. So in Apocalypse Protector, if I'm attacking Apocalypse with 10 power, if it's Protector 3 drops my 10 power to 7, now I'm not able to defeat it. He's saved the day for his own Homeworld. And everybody on that opposing faction can use their protection cards, even if you've already seen it drop below where it would have been a successful attack, because some of those cards give you other benefits from having played them as protection cards. Or maybe you just want to get it out of there. Okay? I would note here, by the way, that there is no way to overcome that after the fact. So build up as much power as you can in the first place. You can still use whatever's left of your power to acquire other things, but once that power is dropped by those protectors, it's as if you've used that power against them and they've blocked it. It's not left for you to do anything with if you've already used it up when fighting that protector. So even if this drops me down to 7 from 10, thanks to that Apocalypse Protector 3, I don't then get my 10 back to acquire something from the lineup. No, I'm still stuck with 7 because those 3 were used up going after that one character to try to get through him to get to Apocalypse that didn't work. Okay. I would also note here lastly that retaliation is considered an attack. It can be blocked with a defense card as you would normally do with, say, a first appearance attack. Again, it's kind of like a last appearance attack, but it works in a similar way to first appearance, just with different timing involved. Kind of a fun new way to play. It changes things up. It's kind of like a little bit of Rivals and a little bit of a standard game, kind of rolled into one here, along with giving us some more stuff to be able to play with the multiverse game mode and replacing a messed up card that we saw back in Birds of Prey. A nice pack here to add to the DC deck building game. Now let's look at that promo card that I've finally been able to acquire to continue our look at those. That new promo card, which at the time of going over other promo cards in the past for this series, was only available if you won certain events, is Gypsy. All right, so Gypsy is a hero with a victory point of 1, a cost of 2, is marked as a promo, copyright date for what it's worth of being, 2017 right here. And she has an ongoing ability. When this card rotates upright, draw a card, and this card gains a card type of your choice this turn. Each time you play a card that shares a card type with this card, rotate this card 90 degrees. So it's using that rotation mechanic we've seen before, but specific to the Gypsy character. Not super duper special or anything like that, but something that was a little hard to come by at the time, which is continuing our look at our promo cards. So now we've seen new gods, we've seen one more promo card. What's next? In our next episode, we'll look at the DC deck building game offshoot that can work with the other game, which is Teen Titans Go deck building game.